Welcome back to the Noize Faktory. I am your host, Pete, and I'm joined by special guest, Mr. Todd Kerns of Slash, featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators fame. Again, the band with the longest name in history. You can check the Guinness books on this one. But Todd is here not to talk about the Slash projects, but to talk about a solo record that he has recently completed.
Really quickly, is this going to be like a deep tissue thing or a shiatsu? What are you... I'm here for the massage.
Well, I brought the cocoa butter, but because it's your hometown, I figured you'd show me the ropes.
BYO coconut butter, okay.
Exactly.
BYOCB, I got it.
So you got a new acoustic record that you have just finished up. It's called Borrowing Trouble, and you did this record with the Pledge Music program.
I did indeed.
Tell us about how you decided to go with that and where the inspiration came from.
That's the fascinating thing, because I've always entertained the idea of doing an acoustic thing. I like 98, 1998. I'm talking about like back in the day when I was in a rock band, and it was like these acoustic kind of like scenarios would come up, like some guys are gonna go play, come play, and I'm, do what? You just put on a guitar and go up and sing some songs. It was a bizarre concept to me, because when you've hidden behind Marshall amplifiers your whole life and loud drums, you just go, even if you're terrible, at least you're too loud to hear everybody yelling and screaming for you to get off the stage. That's why you just keep playing, never stop playing. But then, so I started doing it, and it's liberating. It really tests you as a musician to be able to go, okay, well, I'm going to boil this song down to just, the chords and sing the song. And I found it really.
And you've done some trips over the last couple of years where you've gone up to Canada and you've done some of these shows.
I've done them in Vegas. I was doing acoustic shows, just to kind of, it's a good way to flex your muscles, I think, really just to kind of get out and test your resolve in front of an audience because it's like I say, it's, without even like someone to bounce something off of, it's just you up there by yourself. It's one step away from being a stand-up comic, which I think would probably be the hardest thing when you're up there by yourself. And, well, I just flew in from, and get the hell off the stage. yeah, exactly. So you're kind of like, okay, you got to figure out how to entertain a room full of people.
There's a guy in the corner polishing a gong.
yeah, exactly. My whole life is like that.
Well, it's cool for you to do this now, obviously, because obviously your fan base has expanded immensely after joining the Slash band, and everybody got to know you as the bass player and the guy that was singing all the background vocals.
But then they started digging around. These people have all dug into my past, which has been like several bands and a solo album and
have you seen
else.
Have you noticed have you noticed like a spike in downloads or a spike in like
there has been. I mean, honestly, like I start selling my solo album and that sort of thing, and people just are aware of music. Like when I think about in 2001, was it 2001? We released an album called Static and Stereo, which was the post Age of Electric band, and it was right at the sort of like this crucial turning point in the advent of digital music happening in Canada, which affected everywhere. But because Canada's percentage of the buying public is so much smaller, it was, virtually crippling for a lot of us who were counting on people buying our records. So it was like one of those records that I made that I felt really proud of, but it just got no opportunity to really find an audience. Just because it was, people just weren't buying CDs anymore.
Yeah, another one of the moments in the business.
So we'd go out and play shows, and the place is packed, and everybody's singing the song, and I'm going, well, this doesn't translate into sales. What the hell's going on? But these songs have found a new life, and the same can be said when I moved to Vegas and started playing around town and started playing my songs with the Sin City Sinners, and suddenly these songs found lives. These songs were around since 2004, and some of them even earlier, and they just sort of found new life, and people know them, and now it's like
you
like
finally had an audience to sell all those boxes of CDs.
Yeah, exactly. All that stuff in your garage.
Exactly. Yeah.
I gotta everything must go. It's like, but then all of a sudden
clearance.
Yeah, exactly. But then suddenly you got people in South America and Australia, and you're like, wow, really? Like these people like that far-reaching are that interested in what I'm doing. So the acoustic record really was partly, yes, I always wanted to do an acoustic record. It's always, like I said before, it was a challenge of that. I love those Johnny Cash records, the American recordings with Rick Rubin, that he had done those. And I always found those, and for me, it was really, and I know that I've talked to a lot of people about this because of the nature of this particular project for me, that when you listen to those Johnny Cash records, it was like he was he's sitting right here.
Yeah,
you know,
like
'cause
he's in your living room with a guitar.
Exactly.
Just,
There's no like production kind of it just feels like he just sat there with a guitar in front of the mic, apparently in Rick's living room sometimes, and just played and sang a whole bunch of songs, and then they kind of put it out. And I think that there's something.
If you listen really close, you can hear Rick snoring in the background.
Yeah, on the phone. Mom, I'm recording.
Meatloaf.
But it's like that, and I think that in this day and age where we've talked about this before too, where the recordings have become so much more perfect and so much more corrected and so much more
processed.
To me, it was kind of like it almost kind of felt like the most unexpected thing to do would be go. You know what? I'm going to make a really, really organic acoustic record and just go like, here it is. Because of course, our time away from what we do with Slash is so limited. You know what I mean? It really is. People don't understand that. I can tell you, last year, 2012, I was in my house for 3 weeks out of 9 months.
You don't have to.
You know too. Yeah, it's like
I will witness this.
yeah. But it's it's one of those things where you're and I just thought, well, and I'm kind of like I'd always wanted to do this, and then you start to think of like, well, why shouldn't I do this? A friend of mine was sick with with the worst of the worst, and when in having conversations with him, it was inspiring to have someone facing the end, saying to you, you just got to do that, man. You can't
stop waiting.
Yeah, stop. Yeah. What are you waiting for? There's too many reasons to not do things, and I've learned that very quickly, that you can talk yourself out of anything. It's like, well, what if no one buys it? What if it's not received well? What if people think it's stupid? And those are all like really lame reasons to not do things. So to me, I just kind of felt like, it just felt like this is the time I'll do this and crank it out. And part of me has always had this sort of, I wouldn't call it romantic, but this idea of kind of grabbing a guitar and hopping on a train and riding from town to town and singing songs and, hey, you got any soup?
In the local saloon.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, and then and then you move on to the next town.
Why don't we play a couple tracks for some people?
Sure.
The first song on the record is called "Nothing Personal."
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about that one, and then we'll play it for everybody.
"Nothing Personal" is like it's one of those songs where I'm not known for being a storyteller kind of songwriter, but it has that kind of element of. I mean, the very term "nothing personal" is usually followed by some terrible act. It's like stealing your girlfriend or destroying your job or business. It's like, hey man, it's nothing personal, it's just business. Is the most fascinating thing to analyze. Like that, it's almost like that, like Ricky Bobby on Talladega Nights, where he keeps going like, hey, I can't remember what the actual phrase is, but it's basically like a nothing personal, but you're stupid or something like that. And you're like, you can't just say whatever you want just because you say it. But it is sort of one of those things. So this song has, the first verse is about a girl who moves to. It's a big sort of experience for me when you first start spending time in Los Angeles. How there's an energy in that town where the guy parking your car and the guy mixing your drink and the guy, bringing your food. Everybody has this energy because they're there. They're not there to be waiters and ballets. They're there to be. They're screenwriters.
Wouldn't that be great? Like
actors.
That one time you can meet this successful actor, and somebody goes, "Well, how did you get discovered?" And the guy goes, "Well, I really just came out here to be a waiter."
Yeah.
I never hear that story.
Yeah, he's like, I just act to pay for my waitering.
Yeah, exactly.
Career. Yeah. But the first verse is about a girl who, basically they're all loosely based on experiences that we've all sort of known or sort of had, where she comes down to L.A. to be just basically be famous, because that's what it is these days. It's not really about I have a burning desire to be an actor and I'm a wannabe. It's those people who come down just to be something, and ends up in porn. And then the second verse is about the guy who comes down to be same thing and ends up
in porn.
Yeah. Well, more on Santa Monica, street
washing
walking.
Cars.
Yeah. And then the third verse is about it just sort of says, about some rock star that you forgot about. When you were a kid, you just wanted to be that guy, and then he just kind of vanished, and you've moved on with your life, and the whole thing is just the sort of idea of like, how fragile and yet resilient life is, and saying things like nothing personal, it's just business is, okay, that's sort of supposed to be the worst apology of all time.
Right. Well, let's play this one for everybody. This is called "Nothing Personal." This is off of Todd's new CD, "Borrowing Trouble." And we'll be back with more with Todd in just a few minutes.
On the Noize Faktory.
You have 12 new messages. First message.
Baby's feeling so alive. Followed her dreams to Hollywood and Vine. She's silver. He's got the devil in his smile. Got the casting couch in a couple lines. She's flying. Now she remembers all her lines. It's gonna be just this time, and she'll be golden. But then 10 years go by, she's nearly 35. I hope it was worth it. Ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal. It's just business, yeah. Ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal. Bobby's feeling so alive. Got the Brando look and a Leo smile. He's perfect. He's getting the fuck out of Dodge. Got friends out there in Hollywood. He's already gone. But there's a million just like him. His ship ain't coming in. Sound familiar? Now he's on Santa Monica Boulevard. He's a different kind of star. I hope it was worth it. Ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal. It's just business, yeah. Ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal. Sing your favorite song. You knew the words and you'd sing along. What was his name? You were gonna be just like him, 10 feet tall, a Superman. What happened? He met the needle and spoon. He sings a different tune. It's over. Now you're suburbia's king. You can't remember his name. Ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal. It's just business, yeah. Ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal. Ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal. It's just business, yeah. Ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal. Ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal. It's just business, yeah. Ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal, ain't nothing personal. Daddy's girl, mama's boy, drunk on the joy of shame and in the shame of joy. Mother's milk, baby's breath, fill me with regret. I do the things I shouldn't do. Say the things I shouldn't say. 'Cause in the end, all that's good in you brings out the devil in me. You bring out the devil in me. You bring out the devil in me. What a happy couple you'll be, you and the devil in me. Of modern man and primal urge, forgiven or forbidden, blissful as we burn, will fighters fight and sinners sin. We clear our conscience and we let temptation in. I say the things I shouldn't say, and do the things I shouldn't do. 'Cause in the end, all that's good in you brings out the devil in me. You bring out the devil in me. You bring out the devil in me. What a happy family we'll be, you and my demons and me. Mama's boy, daddy's good. Now the beginning and the end of each other's word. Angel here is barbed wire heart. Put your trust in me and I'll tear your world apart. I do the things I shouldn't do. Say the things I shouldn't say. And in the end, all that's good in you will bring out the devil. Bring out the devil in me. Bring out the devil in me. You bring out the devil in me. What a happy family we'll be, you and the devil and me. You bring out the devil in me. You bring out the devil in me. What a happy couple we'll be, you and the devil in me.
Back with you here on the Noize Factory. That was The Devil in Me off of Todd Kerns' new CD, Borrowing Trouble. And we heard the first track, Nothing Personal, before that. So the album is going to be, you did this through Pledge Music.
That's correct.
Which is this, I think it's a very revolutionary, great way to approach the music business at this year especially. I mean, Ginger Wildheart obviously is the inspiration behind this a little bit.
Yeah, he's
But
sort of the...
why don't you get into this story and tell people a little bit about this?
Well, I mean, that was a big part of it, too, is as, you know, I think like most people, I'm always kind of looking ahead, you know, I'm trying not to be that guy who's like, whatever I'm doing now isn't important because what's next, you know, but I was very sort of aware that apocalyptic love, and the rare situation we have within the Slash band is that Miles is the lead singer of a very successful band on the side. Actually, we're on the side. We're his girlfriend, and he's got a wife named Alterbridge. So I always kind of know that. yeah. That old tomcat, him, Miles Kennedy. But he, I know he's going to go back to that. So for me, it was kind of like, projecting forward and going like, starting to think like, what do I want to do? And I'm kind of person too, usually who has 100 things on the go. But this was like, one of the main things I wanted to do was start working on my own music again and getting myself back into the game. And so the acoustic record was tossing around in my head and having that conversation, and then we just happened to have Ginger Wildheart opening for us in Europe and the UK, and I'm a massive Wildhearts fan and most of everything that Ginger's done, so I was already like a proud owner of his already made 555% Pledge music record and was enjoying it thoroughly, and it was completely alien to me, although I'd heard of things like Kickstarter where bands are getting like, because I'd actually pledged for a few people on like friends of mine would say, hey, these are some friends of mine, and they're putting a record together.
There were a lot of these kind of like fundraising things. The unique approach that I find with Pledge music is, of course, that it's based on a pre-order, not hey, donate money to the band.
That's the scary like language of it is, I think, as an artist, and even Ginger has mentioned that to me too, where at first you're kind of like, asking people for money feels PBS-y, you know what I mean? Like it feels a little weird. But the idea, when you really take a step back and you realize that the coolest thing about that is the removal of the machine of the record company. And it's sort of like, as soon as that's gone, well, then what's left? It's kind of like, well, there's people like to talk about it like that people don't want to buy music, people aren't looking for music anymore. But it's not true at all. People love looking for new music, and I'm one of those people, you know what I mean? Like, so I think you are, I think a lot of us are, who are looking for new music and new, interesting, cool things. And I think that Pledge, and probably any of the other ones that do it too, is built on the idea of like, look, if you want to kind of get in on this, it's fun. It's cool to kind of like I'm doing it now. I do it for Ginger whenever he's got stuff going on. But CJ Ramone from the Ramones is putting out a thing through Pledge, and I'm like, damn, I'm in. It's like it's fun to kind of get in there and kind of know that you're kind of part of his story and part of his. You become kind of like a shareholder
in a
like
real way. You're making it possible
Absolutely.
for people whose music you like to keep making music.
And I would buy it after the fact probably anyway. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And when there's other artists coming up and they're asking, friends of mine, like I said before, it's like, hey, a friend of mine's making a record and they're great and blah blah. Oh, great. You get in there and you kind of, it's part of the, in a day and age where, the music industry is completely upside down from when I was a kid, because I don't understand really how it works anymore. Because when I was a kid, it was like, you put a band together, you play, you build an audience, then some A&R dude comes and sees you, and he signs you, and you make a record, and that entire thing isn't in play anymore. Now it's kind of like, it's more like cottage industry, like you make something and you sell it, and you go like an old medicine show, go to town, hey, so step right up.
Well, and now that old medicine show is all online,
and that's the thing.
You have to have 20,000 real likes on Facebook before anybody takes attention.
But then I think that's kind of, in a lot of ways, that's kind of, it's added a certain amount of excitement to the game, because I would never have complained if one of my songs had gone on and been huge and was in soundtracks and doing whatever, but I was always kind of like, when you really take a step away from it, you really kind of have to look at it and go, I don't make music because I want to get bich. Because if I was, I would have been trying to write, within the context of whatever was going on at that time. Right. I would have made, post-grunge sounding songs when that was the happening thing. But I always kind of did what I did, you know what I mean? And I think even though this is an acoustic record, I think it's very much the same thing that I do. It just happens to be without drums and without loud guitars.
So now, if they haven't already contributed to this record, people can still go to pledgemusic.com.
Pledgemusic.com, yeah.
And order the... Is it just the CD that's available now after the initial...
No. Oh, you mean after the initial release? We're not really sure, because as it stands, currently as we're recording this, it's before the release. So we have vinyl, we have when you order the thing through Pledge, pre-order... 8-track, you get a foot massage. No,
reel to reel.
Laserdisc. No,
I know what a fan of vintage you are.
Yeah. No, but you can. It comes with a full-length album that's 12 songs, and then it comes with a 6-song EP called Near Life Experience, because it's it's from my past catalog done acoustically. So
And
songs
we'll play one of those songs in a little while.
So some of those songs, well, I mean, because like a lot of people are finding me now, so a lot of those songs will be brand new to those people. But some of them come from my first solo album, some of them come from one of my previous bands, and so it's kind of like it's an exciting way to get those songs kind of back out there too for me. And whenever I did acoustic shows, I would play those songs in that fashion. The Static and Stereo record was written largely acoustic and then sort of built from there. So
very cool. And so the last song that we heard was "The Devil in Me," and that was a song that you had said before was a pretty important track for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny to me because it's like I'm always big on these songs. Like I recorded a version of a song called "The Maker" on this by an artist named Daniel Lanois, who's actually a massive producer of U2 and Bob Dylan. He's done a million different things, but it's one of those songs that I've always played acoustically, and it's always this sort of like, for me, the searchingness of spirituality and things like that. Where "The Devil in Me" is a lot more about like, as an ex-bad guy, I had a lot of conversations with Miles Kennedy during the making of the Apocalyptic Love record, driving to the studio every day, talking about like, how these sort of dark chapters of our lives, or they weren't necessarily dark because they're actually a lot of fun, but then you kind of grow up and you decide, I can't be like that anymore. So Miles writes songs like "Not for Me," and I write songs like...
You could keep writing songs about it, though, for the rest
Yeah,
of your
exactly,
life.
yeah. Where "The Devil in Me" is kind of a lot about actually like kind of trying to like walk the line and trying to be like the good dude, but it's like there's always that part of yourself, and I think that's part of the human animal that I find the most interesting. Is it's no matter how cool and good a guy you are, there's always that sort of Viking part of yourself that will wants to just like...
I think it's a healing process for a lot of musicians. I think it's a great way to exercise your demons in a lot of ways.
That's why having music is
it helps
important.
Actually, I think it helps a lot of guys put like a bookmark on the end of a chapter. You know? And I think that's important. And a lot of great songs come from those kind of things, because they're real life experiences. They're things that other people can relate to.
I think so too, yeah.
So, and then this was one of the tracks that I heard early on, this next song that we're going to play. It's called "This Changes Everything." This song, when I first heard this track, I remember saying to Cheryl, who has now taken over the role of tour manager.
She's called the problem solver. I'm the problem causer.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and she's someone that you have a long-standing professional relationship with, worked with old management from back in the early days
20
of your
years
career.
ago. Yeah.
And your paths have continued to cross over the years, and you guys are working together on this project as well, which is phenomenal. This song, I remember she played this for me, and I was like, wow, I'd like to hear this with the whole band. You know what I mean? Like, and that because I immediately heard it that way. But it's one of those things where you sit back and you listen to an acoustic song and you go, people always say, well, I write everything on acoustic. And some songs you can't picture it until you actually hear it.
That's exactly
this song really is I really like this song a lot, and it was just one of those moments where you're listening to it going, wow, this is like you're hearing the song in that moment of, well, I write everything on an acoustic. You know what I mean? And you could hear it, what it's going to sound like with a band. So
it's funny that you say that, because it's absolutely true. I mean, in reality, there has been versions of this song that were the full blown, it just has this kind of like rolling kind of, I wouldn't say funky, but an almost kind of a groove to it that was sort of like. And I when I started to kind of think about the acoustic thing, I thought, well, is "This Changes Everything"? Is that because it's just one of those songs in my Rolodex in my head of a giant catalog of back music that, a lot of which wouldn't work on this recording, because it's like some songs just don't work when you peel away all the stuff. But this one I was kind of like, I really liked the challenge within this particular song, because this song in a lot of ways I wrote for its simplicity, because it's mostly a 2-chord change with multiple like verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, all over the same changes, and then at the end of the song, all those vocal changes are stacked up on top of each other, like, I don't know, like Queen meets something. And it was, and on an acoustic recording, no one says, I'm going to do 48 changes. tracks of stuff, but it wasn't like that many. But but the whole idea was
it does
like,
have a great it has a great layered vocal part.
Yeah,
you know, and we talked about that when I first heard it as well, because it's almost like a vocal canon.
Yeah, it really kind of builds to this thing. I had a girl named Sean Cooey come in and sing one part, and I had Zach, who plays in the Sinners. He sang his part. He's a really great singer too. And it was just kind of like, and like a lot of it, I mean, a lot of this recording was so much for me, like me by myself, and like, you know, like you're sitting in a cabin going crazy, and you know, and I kind of thought, you know, bringing in, especially with something like this when there's so many voices going on, I thought I need other voices, so I brought in, you know, a couple people that I really enjoy singing.
The ones inside your head.
Yes, yeah. Well, now they're all on that song.
Well, check this one out, guys. This changes everything off of Todd's new record, Borrowing Trouble, and you're listening to the Noize Faktory.
Hey, what the hell is this? The you I thought I knew turned into someone else. Hey, the me I used to be might have just let it fade away. I built you up, I tore you down, I locked you in, I sold you out. Invisible, you drank me blind, I broke you down, then I got you high. Yeah, this changes everything. Oh yeah, this changes everything for me. Now I'm bloated and obscene, full of the promises we never meant to keep. But hey, the us we used to be, I should never have let it fade away. I built you up, I tore you down, I locked you in, I sold you out. Invisible, you drank me blind, I broke you down, then I got you high. Yeah, this changes everything. This changes everything. Oh yeah, this changes everything for me. day. I've had all the pain a man could take, but I'd do it all again. Made every mistake a man could make, but it's made me who I am. Now every move from birth to tomb, all consumed by the truth. It's always been you, always been you. Now battles fought and battles lost, but I win the war. 'Cause I still kick and I still fight, and the winner takes all. 'Cause every move from birth to tomb, all consumed by the truth that it's always been you, always been you. And no matter what I do, it'll always be you. Cause all the pain a man can make, and I take the blame. And all the mistakes I could create are just lessons learned late. And every move from birth to tomb, all consumed by the truth. And no matter what I do, it'll always be you, always be you, ooh, always be you, always be you, ooh, it's always been you.
This is the Noize Factory.
Back with Todd Kerns here on the Noize Factory. That was It's Always Been You off of his new acoustic record, Borrowing Trouble, which you can get right now on pledgemusic.com.
That's right.
And soon to be found on iTunes, if not already, by the time you hear this.
And eventually on my toddkerns.com, which is
Now,
largely gay porn, as you know.
Exactly, yes. And a blog.
Yeah.
About gay
and
porn.
a blog. Yeah.
Now, are you gonna release or re-release some of your old catalog as well? Since you're gonna have, I would expect there to be some kind of increased traffic.
I've been entertaining. I sell Go Time, the first solo album, which was 2004, believe it or not. I mean, we ended up doing a Sin City Sinners record in 2010. I think it was 2010, and a lot of those songs come from Static and Stereo or Go Time. But so the fact that people kind of want it, I'm like, I've made it available. But the funny thing is that next year is the 10-year anniversary of Go Time, so I'm actually kind of entertaining the idea. We started our own label called Kyrip Records, and to release this on, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's fun because you're kind of like, well, I can do whatever I want. A friend of mine, one of the guys who inspired the record, Greg, passed away during the making of the record, and he was in a great band, and they didn't finish that. And I'd like to put out his thing through that, so. It's
That's great.
It's like, well, it's one of those bizarre things where it's just, it's been a really interesting chapter in the last couple of years for me to watching, someone pass away and kind of, but in a cathartic way, to trying to find the positive on these things, to me has made it a lot more kind of like, well, you should probably enjoy this as much as you can.
Well, it's
while we're
cool
here,
because you want to share something that obviously your friend did that meant a lot to him with other people. I mean, in a way, that's a lot about what the Noize Faktory is for me.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, the better part of the last 3, 4, 5 years of my life has been, entrenched in work. And what you find when we travel is that we lose ourselves because we know what we got to do. We got to we're moving so much that you lose your hobbies.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah.
Unless you like to go fly fishing or take photos of butterflies somewhere, it's hard.
Good luck doing that too.
Well,
though,
it's hard to be able to keep. The hobbies that you are used to when you're sitting in one place, or keep an element of yourself. You kind of lose parts of yourselves as you travel, and you're constantly on the move. So I think that's a great thing. I mean, and obviously you with your own record label, and all the people that you've worked with over the years or had intertwined with, or the musicians that you've crossed paths with. It's a great avenue for you to do something that you're passionate about. And I guess one of the things that we should touch on before we get into the next track is that you're also the producer on this record, which you've done in the past with other bands.
Yeah.
But one of the things that struck me, even from the early takes of the masters, before they were finished mixes, was just how great these tracks sounded, and the layered vocals, and this changes everything. That it was something that stood out even the first time I heard it. So, is that something that you want to continue to pursue?
I did it a lot.
Forward?
I mean, production has always been like, I wouldn't say it's something that comes easy for me, but it's something that I kind of like. I'm not the kind of person that spends 4 hours miking an amplifier or miking a snare drum. That stuff drives me banana sandwiches, actually. But it's good to have a guy who does do that. When you come in and go, because for me it's like I'm about songs, I'm about like parts, and I did a lot of this back in Canada, where we bring people in, we record them, and it's kind of like, well, your job is then to help this person make this song as good as it can be, and
right.
And because I'm a music guy, I'm not. A lot of it's very gut instinct sort of stuff to me. It's not about like, well, this is the relative this and this is the relative. In reality, I know a lot of that theory wise, but it's mostly I know it because it's as if I've learned how to.
It's what you feel.
It's like I've learned how to street fight as opposed to like training.
I found that I really enjoyed that part of it too, and technically speaking, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about producing a record, but. I do feel like after all these years of being around it and listening to as much music as I listen to, that I can pick out great songs. Or
Absolutely,
I can pick out elements of songs that are great and tell people when I think that this needs to be tweaked or that needs to be tweaked. And I really enjoy that part of it. I think the way that I described it once was I enjoy fostering the creativity of people. And that part of it is, and that's part of the reason why I do this. That's why I started this thing, was because there's so many musicians that I love, that I keep thinking that, man, more people need to hear this guy, or more people need to hear this, or what
Absolutely,
it is.
yeah.
And that's the whole reason why we're doing this. And that's why I have you here. And that's, and there's a lot of guys that I'm going to have come through this show that I feel like there's this group of people that I feel like are underappreciated or need to be heard by more people, and that's what this is all about,
Of course. I mean, it's it's always been this way, It's like people they like to complain. They'll say to me, "Isn't it terrible now that Justin Bieber and One Direction are?" I'm like, "Dude, it's been like this since I was a kid. It was Sean Cassidy and something else when I was a kid." It's like it's always been this way. It's like the best music was stuff you had to go out and look for. And I realize as I get older that not everybody's like us. Not everybody knows every single thing about Kiss or Deep Purple or whoever you want to talk about. A lot of people just like listening to music is like having a sandwich. It's like, I would like to listen to some music, and they press play on something, and then they go on with their day. For me, it was like I had to, I like knew every song on the record, and I knew
it spoke to
who
us
wrote it and who sang this song and who sang that song, and I knew everything about it. But that's, music will always be that way for me. I think it's probably all that way for you too. But
yeah.
And the thing is, though, those people are still around, and there's like they try to make it sound like that those people don't exist anymore. It's like, are you kidding me? There's like a 14-year-old kid out there somewhere who knows everything about the Stones or something like that.
Well,
like
it's very true, and you being involved with a guy like Slash, who, it's funny because that band is not a band that is a atypical band that you would hear on the radio these days. But you guys have been very successful with this Apocalyptic Love record on the radio.
Yeah.
And the great thing about this show, and there are other shows out there and other guys like your Eddie Trunks, you know, who, this is a complete tip of the hat to that guy, is that there are these newer bands that are mining that classic rock sound. I hate to, I don't know, there's no other good way to describe it. It's melody driven rock and roll, which is, to me, the only way you can define it is like a classic rock sound, because that's what it is. And it's great that you guys are a part of that, because identifiable figures are the guys that help bring musical cycles back around, and then the young bands start to come out of the woodwork and get attention.
I agree.
And the cool part about you being able to step aside and do an acoustic record while you're doing this is because you're getting to stretch your legs doing something different.
Yeah.
And showing people that, oh yeah, by the way, this is where I've been coming from all this time. And music is very important to you. And it's and there's a lot of people like that out there, you know, and it's,
I think in a lot of ways the obvious thing for me to do would have been to go and make a rock record, like to be kind of like, well, Slash has this demographic, you know, and if I make this kind of record, it'll. But I kind of felt like, in a lot of ways, I didn't want to be. I just felt like it didn't feel right to be like, let's capitalize on this situation, because there's nothing about this particular project that was like about, you know, capitalizing on this demographic or any of the sort of like corporate sort of talk. It was more about like, it was more about music and just making some songs.
I think a lot of people confuse acoustic records as like an easy way for somebody to get a project out there. The funny part is the truth about an acoustic record is that it's like the barest bones that you can strip something down to and get as close to just who you are and what you are and how your music is portrayed in your own head.
Absolutely.
It's very personal in a lot of ways.
I will say that in my experience, it's easier to play something loud and be aggressive and be like and say something angry. That's a lot easier than it is to sit there with an acoustic guitar and play something really from your heart, and because that to me feels like you need to be a pretty brave person to do that.
And I think that when you look back through, you know, a lot of the great bands in history, like the bands that were able to do those hard rock songs or the angry rock songs or whatever it was, and then had that acoustic side. And the Stones are like the best example, I think, from day one.
Stones, yeah.
They started it really, I think, in a lot of ways, because they had such a dichotomy with the songs that they did, and then of course Zeppelin came along, and that was, I mean, they blew it wide open for so many
bands.
people.
Like Alice in Chains were really great at it too, you know. It's like, and when you kind of like work your way up, I mean, even like there was that sort of phase during the 90s and into the 2000s where the unplugged thing was really popular.
And, I mean, Tesla's acoustic record was one of those records where you listen to it today and it's such a great performance.
Really, those guys were
just great songs,
particularly talented. The Nirvana record was massive. I mean, the unplugged Nirvana record. I mean, I think that there's something that for me, I mean, it was largely based on the idea that there's, you know, Facebook pages popping up everywhere with my name attached to it. Paraguay, South America, you know, Russia, and I'm like, it's, every one of them is completely flattering. Like, really, somebody took the time to create this page and be like supportive of us, and my webmaster Norma has been so amazing at kind of like gathering us all together and making it one unified thing that it's like it's become. I know these people now. I go on the road and I have them come out to shows and, hey man, how's it going?
He does too.
Yeah, I literally do. Yeah. Well, I need a couch to sleep on at some point. And then, you know, but I mean, it just sort of, you know, the whole thing to me, it was sort of more of like, I know that there's a certain amount of people out there who like what I do, who follow what I do, and this is really for them. I mean, ultimately, I will pick up some new people along the way just because that's what happens when you make music is it creates opportunities.
Somebody new is going to hear you for the first time.
Sitting on my couch going like waiting for the phone call to come is one thing you can do, but the other thing you can do is go do something and create an opportunity. And it was really kind of like, a part of it goes back to this story where a friend of mine told me how Jim Morrison used to make these used to write poetry, you know, and he would like make up his own books, 100 of them, and he'd hand them out to his friends, and it would be like, there wasn't really intended to be, I'm going to get rich off these, or I'm a poet. I'm like, I'm some guy who makes stuff, and here you go. And that's kind of what this is, even though, yes, I am selling it, and yes, I am pre-selling it and whatnot. But to me, it was kind of like, I knew who my audience is. I know who is there for me. I know that they're going to enjoy this. You know, I mean, it really, so in a funny way, it's really for them. And I think that, you know, at the same time, there's a whole other audience out there that will probably get a lot out of it too. So
absolutely. All right, so let's play another couple of songs.
Let's do that.
The next one is Hideous that we're going to play off of this record. So
was
tell us a little bit about Hideous.
I was briefly telling you this because the chorus goes, "You make me feel hideous," and it's like I remember playing it for a producer. I mean, the song's a few years old or whatever, and with the idea of like recording some songs, and he was like, and when you really you kind of get into this old school attitude of like you can't sing that to your audience. Your audience is saying that that they make you feel bad about yourself or something. I was like, well, no, I don't think that's really what I meant. I think for me, the song, when it says that the whole line is the pre-chorus area goes, I am yellow teeth, I am greasy hair, I am big nose, empty vacant stare, I am 4 eyes, I am 2 left feet. The whole thing is to me, I grew up, I was this...
You are so
good looking. Yeah. I was this nerdy, dorky dude. You know what I mean? Like, I used to get the the biggest compliment I would get was that I looked like Joey Ramone, which, I mean, honestly, I love Joey Ramone. He was one of my biggest heroes, but I knew that wasn't really a compliment coming from the girls. So then, you kind of grow up and you and you become like a musician.
That was the biggest compliment.
Yeah, that was the biggest compliment I got. The tall, skinny guy looks like, hey, you look like, because I had glasses, and my hair. And I'm like, and then then I grow up and I become a musician and everybody knows you strap a guitar on and you suddenly infinitely become more popular than you were yesterday before you had a guitar on. But every once in a while you still carry that person inside you, and I think everybody has that person inside them, that thing that they're insecure about. If somebody doesn't have that inside them, then I really don't understand them. People who are just like endlessly confident and all that sort of thing. But and I think the whole idea is being with somebody who's like, what the hell are you doing with me? I'm like, I'm still that dorky, like 15-year-old.
There's an element of vulnerability that goes along with that. Yeah, and I think you.
But I think there's also some sort of power
Yeah.
and strength in sort of embracing.
Well,
that,
you know as well as I do, those people that pretend like that's not there
They're
are the
worse
ones
than
that
any of
have
us,
the
yeah.
worst. The worst.
And that's what I think
of
that
everybody.
I think that there's a strength in finding that and realizing that everybody kind of feels this way. At least at some point in their day, somebody's feeling like they even the most beautiful women in Hollywood, all have things about them that they don't feel good about, and you're always like, wow, if you only realize that we all feel the same way.
Yeah.
And the song is only sort of loosely attached to that. It is a lot of it came from the Hunchback of Notre Dame, where he's like, look away, I'm hideous. That whole thing with to me these things stick in my brain, and then the idea of being with somebody who's so attractive that you kind of feel like, what is she doing with this leper? Oh, wow, that leper's me, But that's just part of my crazy brain.
You ugly bastard. All right, well let's play it. This is Todd Kerns with Hideous.
On the Noize Factory.
Next message.
Do you find me repulsive? Are you afraid to meet my stare? Are you ashamed to catch my glance? Who could blame you? I am yellow teeth, I am greasy hair, I am big nose with empty vacant stare. I am 4 eyes, I am 2 left feet, I am nothing, and you are everything. You make me feel hideous, you make me feel hideous, you make me feel hideous, you make me feel. Would you call me repugnant? Am I disagreeable? Would you shiver at my touch? Whoa. Who could blame you? I am yellow teeth, I am greasy hair, with empty vacant stare. I am four eyes, I am two left feet, I am nothing, and you are everything. You make me feel hideous, you make me feel hideous, you make me feel hideous, you make me feel. Don't wait around for answers, you'll never find them here, yeah. Don't wait around for answers, no. You won't like what you're gonna hear, yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't wait around for Jesus, 'cause you'll never find him here, yeah, yeah, yeah. And don't wait around for answers, no. 'Cause he sees but he doesn't hear. I am yellow teeth, I am greasy hair, I am big nose with empty vacant stare. I am four eyes, I am two left feet, I am nothing, and you are everything. You make me feel hideous, 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 you make me feel. Alone adrift at sea, you found the likes of me, so much more lost than you could be. And now I float along with you, and I do what I can do, not to drag you down with me. Storms are coming, there ain't nothing we can do. It's tearing me from you. Oh, Magdalena, all the stars, they shine at night for you, and all you do. Oh, Magdalena, in the dark, none shine as bright as you. It's your move, oh Magdalena. And so we float till we can fly. It's the fear that gets you high, and the pain that makes you safe. I try to catch your fall, but you never hear me call. You wouldn't answer anyway. Kick and scream until it gets the best of you. It's all that you can do, oh Magdalena. All the stars, they shine at night for you, and all you do. Oh, Magdalena, in the dark, none shine as bright as you. It's your move, oh Magdalena. When she says love don't like me, it's always well rehearsed. She loves no one, she's in love with love. And she'll attack long before there's a chance of being hurt. 'Cause sometimes love is not enough. Now you only come to me in dreams, at your leisure so it seems. Is it any wonder I don't sleep? Are you back adrift at sea, looking for a fool like me to save you from the deep? The storm is over, baby, where the hell are you? You should have taken me to Magdalena. All the stars, they shine at night for you, and all you do. Oh, Magdalena, in the dark, none shine as bright as you. It's your move, oh, Magdalena. Oh, Magdalena.
Back with you on the Noize Factory with Mr. Todd Kerns as our guest.
Thank you for the foot massage, by the
Oh,
way.
you're
That was
very
fantastic.
welcome. You have lovely
Manicured.
corns. We're talking about his new acoustic record, Borrowing Trouble.
I love that you use the term record. You know what I mean? People always look at me funny, like, what the hell does that mean? You know, isn't it a CD? And you kind of like, I always looked at the
now
term.
it's just a collection of MP3s.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Really but you also have the EP with it, Near
Yeah.
Life Experience, which if you buy the package on pledgemusic.com,
You get all 18 songs. That's a lot of songs.
it is a lot of songs. And you had some great packages to offer too with this. I mean, you had some guitars that you included in this, and
We're doing vinyl. It's gonna be great. You know, it's the first time I've ever done in vinyl personally. We had vinyl Apocalyptic Love, which was a trip, man. When I opened it up, I'm like, I'm on artwork on an album. How very bizarre.
that whole box set of the vinyl things that they did for the
great.
Slash records was really cool. Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah, you should buy those too. By the way.
They've done some really great packaging on both records, and
Yeah.
and the live record includes all
Stoke
three records
too
yeah.
is a fancy one too. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just heard Magdalena off the record. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Well, that song, and then one of the ones we heard earlier was called "It's Always Been You," is kind of more of the Johnny Cash. Well, not that I don't sing or play anything like Johnny Cash, but my intention was, you know, kind of going to that sort of like it's just a guy and a guitar. So a lot of those songs, you know, it's just kind of like it's really unnerving. I have to tell you, when you get down to that thing where you're kind of like it's just gonna be my voice and a guitar. And in your head, you have to kind of convince yourself that no, you don't need to put anything else on this, because you're thinking I should put a harmony here, maybe there should be a shaker there, because songs like This Changes Everything, The Devil in Me, Nothing Personal, they have stuff. Like it was kind of like I always meant that it should have some harmonies, and I always meant that it should have like electric sitar on things and shakers, and then on these ones it was like, you know, it was that really sort of the challenge to go, okay, it's just going to be here it is, you know, sit down in front of a microphone and go and just start playing and singing and going, that's it. I mean, because I really do believe that great songs, no matter any band you can think of, any song you can think of, if it's a great song, it can be boiled down to be it a piano or a guitar and a vocal,
a single instrument and a voice,
and just sing it. And I'm always surprised because I challenge myself. Like whenever I've done acoustic shows, I try and find some of my favorite songs to play. Like it'd be the most bizarre things, like a Typo Negative song or a Depeche Mode song. I like the craziest things that I'll go, I'm going to play this song in front of people and see what it sounds like, just a guitar. And it kind of always sounds like, like a haunted Neil Diamond or something. It's like,
what are some of the favorite ones that you've done?
I'm trying to think. Well, I have done Neil Diamond. I've done like
Forever in Blue Jeans.
No, nothing quite. I like his. He has a song called "Solitary Man." That's one I always like to play.
Great song,
That's like his earliest. I just think the words in that are really, really heavy. But I do like weird ones. Like there's this Nancy Sinatra song. Quentin Tarantino used it for. It's called "Bang Bang." He Shot Me Down or whatever. He used it in one of the Kill Bill movies and stuff like that. So I do these songs that I think a lot of the time people don't really know. I've done Patsy Cline songs. I've done, like I say, I did Walking in My Shoes by by Depeche Mode is essentially a kind of a dancey keyboardy song, and all of a sudden you break it down to this kind of like, usually those kind of lyrics they connect with you and you go, I really like what's being said here. And that song, The Maker, that exists on the record by Daniel Lanois is one of those songs. I just started playing it because it's a song that I really connected with, and just sort of boil it down to just a guitar and a voice, and here we go. So I've
how
had
many songs on the record are in that format? How many of them are just you and the guitar?
I would say probably over half.
Okay.
Or if maybe sometimes it's not just there's even a song done on ukulele. We should have played it actually, but it's like I got a ukulele for Christmas and I went like, hey, I know four chords.
There's still time.
We can still play it.
We can still do it.
But I was kind of like one of those things where it's like it just felt like if you're gonna do 12 songs, I think I like the variation of it because there's songs where I have some. Like I said, I had some 12-string guitar, I had some sitar, I had some organ-y type stuff, some piano-y type stuff, and then why not a ukulele? I literally picked up this ukulele, learned 4 chords on Christmas Day because I picked it up, and I'm a musical guy, so I just started making it up. And you realize how many songs, if you know 4 chords, you could play a lot of songs. You sit there and you go, and the next thing you know, if you're a guy like me, you start writing a song, or you just come up with something, and it's actually one of my favorite things on the record because it's just, it's so. Like if somebody who knows me as the bass player in Slash, and you went, hey, this is the Todd Dammit from Slash, press play, they'd be like, what? Okay. But I love that kind of stuff. I like the really unexpected things as opposed to, I think, like I said, it's like there is a rock record in me that'll be out, in no time at all. But I'm just saying, like, I think it's I really get a kick out of the no one expects this kind of stuff. So, and like I said,
the track that really took me by surprise was the one that you had Zamfir play on, with Master of the Pan.
Well, him and Esteban had that great solo section.
I still cannot get over that guy's got a show in Vegas.
Esteban,
like,
baby.
Is he in the lounge or is he in the theater?
He's probably, I don't know, but he's a name. He's probably got some draw. I don't know.
I'm telling you, that infomercial at the airport was classic. But,
well,
yeah,
I think you just sold a gazillion tickets for him right now.
I think that, the 5 people listening.
Well, that's 5 tickets.
Yeah. I think you've always, you have a very diverse interest in different acts in music. You've knowing you.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a wide array of things that you really like. So
I'm able to hang with the metal dudes, and I'm able to hang with the country guys, and it's it's just sort of who I am in the middle of it all. I think that's and I could point out things in within my songs, and I can go, I got this idea from a punk rock song, and I got that idea from a Slipknot song. People will be like, what, really? And no, it is, but it all ends up kind of sounding like me. Sure. I think I have a particular way that I sound. I think unintentionally I just kind of have my own thing.
It's your interpretations that kind of make you. So let's play this ukulele song.
You really want to play it? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Which one is this?
It's called So Scandalous.
So
Scandalous. In Sausalito. No, I'm kidding. It's called So Scandalous.
Fantastic.
And it's one of those songs that, in a funny way, it's all about it's basically about cheating. Frankly, Todd Dammit does these things so that you people don't have to. I go through these life experiences so that, and I come back with lessons. And I play them on ukulele.
As you know, everybody needs a good ukulele lesson. So.
Wow. No, but the idea is, it's sort of like, this, the idea of how often these things seem like a cool idea, but when you really take a step back, they're not a cool idea, And I think that we sometimes fall for the drama of it, or the glamour of like meeting somebody in a sort of tortured situation that's never going to work, And then sometimes that feeling will pass, and you realize, well, that was a real waste of energy. That was really stupid. And I think that's what this song kind of, it's sort of more written from the being in the middle of it, but it really is sort of based on that idea.
And the ukulele really takes you there.
And the ukulele really takes
perhaps the most scandalous string instrument that there is. So here's Todd with Scandalous off of Borrowing Trouble. Here
on the Noize Faktory.
They don't know and they don't see the way you look at me, but they feel the heat between the two of us. What they don't know, what they don't see, could mean the death of me. Oh, so scandalous. What drives us to take this chance? Our hidden looks and a knowing glance. We do our best to hide it from the rest, but they're no strangers to this dance. And who do we think we're fooling? Ooh, guess the joke's on them, 'cause they don't know and they don't see the way you look at me, but they feel the heat between the two of us. What they don't know, what they don't see, could mean the death of me. Oh, so scandalous. All the things that your man suspects could cost you more than you might expect. 'Cause in the end, he knows I'm more than a friend. From thought to act on to regret. And ooh, don't change a thing. Ooh, no reasoning. 'Cause they don't know and they don't see the way you look at me, but they feel the heat between the two of us. What they don't know, what they don't see, could mean the death of me. Oh, so scandalous. Ooh, try as I might, like a moth I'm drawn to your flame. Ooh, to stay or fly away. Either way I'm burning just the same. 'Cause they don't know and they don't see the way you look at me, but they feel the heat between the two of us. What they don't know, what they don't see, could mean the death of me. Oh, so scandalous. Oh, so scandalous. so scandalous.
So that was Todd Kerns delving into the world of the ukulele with Scandalous.
Yeah, I'm the Yngwie Malmsteen of the ukulele.
Somebody has to be. It's a great tune though, and it's again it's the songs on this record are very much you, and they're strong. They're really strongly written songs, and it's.
Well, there's a
I
sort of
think
like
your voice. I think your voice sounds great on these tracks too.
Well, thank you. Like I said, it's like singing is such a bizarre thing because you think about like, well, guys get older and they can't sing that stuff as well. Like you pick some of your favorite old guys, but I find that the more older I've gotten, the more control I have over my voice. And I sing, I'm starting to sing like 3 songs a night with Slash just out of nowhere. Like, it's like, hey, sing this now. He kind of throws them at me like I'm kind of like, it's almost like a challenge of sorts. He kind of goes, welcome to the jungle, go. Like to see if I'm going to fall flat on my face. And I go, okay, Uncle Slash.
Did you add any new ones on this last run?
No, it's the same. I mean, we generally bounce between Dr. Alibi from the solo album or We're All Gonna Die from the solo album. And then we do You're Crazy or Out to Get Me from Appetite. And then I've been doing Welcome to the Jungle in the Encore, which is bizarre.
Whoever it was that planted that seed in his head to make you do that.
If Pete Merluzzi's been slipping him a 50 nightly for that.
I do not know who did that, but he is a genius. So we're gonna play a track off of the Near Life Experience EP to kind of wrap up the talk about the Borrowing Trouble release, which you can get on pledgemusic.com. We'll definitely have some banners up on the Noize Faktory site for the release of the record. And, of course, you are a friend of the show, obviously. And we will make sure that we keep reminding people that your record is out.
Well, that's nice of you.
And who you are.
Yeah, well, yeah. I often have to remind people who I am, going there. Do you want my autograph? Do you know who I am?
What people really want to know is, how do you get your hair so shiny? I was going to do that to Fitz when we were talking.
Oh, man. That's one of the ones I got, on my website. There's like the Ask Dammit. Ask Todd Dammit, whatever you want to ask him. And I swear, a lot of people get mad at me like, hey, you didn't answer my question. And it's like, it's because your question is always about like, what do you use for hair products or something weird like that. There's like gazillion questions a day about my hair. And I'm always like, really? If you knew what I did to my hair, literally, as it would scare you off, really, you probably wouldn't want to stand too close to me. But I mean, it's just like, the reason my hair is so long is because I don't want to do anything to it. I wake up and I go about my business usually.
It is longer now than it has been in quite some time.
Are we still talking about my hair?
This is an adult show. Oh, yeah, that means we can talk about whatever.
Yeah, right.
So since you brought it up,
that it's always like what's your relationship status? Like I'm going to answer these kind of like personal questions on the internet, or what do you use in your hair? And like, geez, when did I turn into David Cassidy? But not that I'm complaining, because it's always flattering when anybody wants to know anything about.
I think the day you turned into David Cassidy was the day in Italy when we looked out into the audience and saw those girls with a sign that says, "We know that we could be your daughters, but marry us." I liked how it was like a total bigamist arrangement that they had going for it. I still have a picture of that.
It says marry us, but
I'm gonna post that picture on the website when we air this. There will be that photo of those girls holding the sign at the festival in Italy.
The funny thing is, we finally they came back and took pictures.
The Gods of Metal in Milan.
In Milan, yeah. They finally came back and took pictures with this banner and we're old enough to be your daughters, but marry us. It's like I don't think that. I'm allowed to marry 2 people, but if I'm old enough to be your father, it's even weirder.
Things are a little bit more relaxed.
Things are cool in Europe. They got a whole other. Never mind.
So this track that we're gonna wrap this up with is called "My True Love."
My True Love. My True Love is funny because that was originally released. I was just talking about it earlier. Released on the first solo album, and it's a totally different version. This version's a lot more Johnny Cash. Rob from the Sinners plays like a snare drum thing. He's really good at like old school kind of like singles, shuffles and stuff like that. So it's a whole different version of this song, but I always kind of played it this way. And whenever I do an acoustic shows, it was like a reimagined version. Same lyrics and same everything, but it's just kind of like a whole different take on it. Because the Near Life Experience EP has this song. Heat Through 4 AM and Haunted come from the Static and Stereo record, but they're acoustic versions that I just did. And then an Ariana Incomplete is also from Static and Stereo. Broken Record is an acoustic song that it was actually my intention was always to include it on Borrowing Trouble, but we did an acoustic record with the Sin City Sinners a few years back, so I put Broken Record on that, which was just myself playing guitar. And then there's a final song called Indian Summer from my solo album on there as well. So they're basically all songs from my past catalog that anybody who has been following me will know these. Anybody who hasn't, these are basically brand new songs. So it's like 6 bonus tracks to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great buy, obviously.
I think so.
You know, it's a lot of music,
Yeah.
and it's the freedom that the Pledge Music thing really gave you, and the to be able to allow people to kind of really have a vested interest in the project, I think is great.
Well, and the bonus of doing something like this is, I've been in the business for years, and I've been in that world where, you want to make a record, but there's always that sort of compromise and that sort of like, you've got to please these people, you got to please these people. Before it even goes out to an audience, you're already making compromises within the industry. This was basically like, hey guys, I want to make a record. Are you interested? And all the people who are there for you go, I'm in, and you go, great, well, I'm going to make a record, and it's basically for you guys, so I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, and you get to thank them,
Yeah.
In a really direct and personal way.
It
with
really
this project. I think it's a great way to kind of get, give your fans something really personal and unique, and the more of them that get involved, the more people that get to be a part of it. And you've always been good to the fans that have come to the shows, and this is it's great that you're finally getting to do this.
Yeah, blast.
Yeah. Now, your website where people can go and
ToddKerns.com. It's been there for a long time.
You have a great blog
Yeah.
that you write. He's hysterical, so you need to go. He's a great writer as well. You've written it. We do.
That.
There still has to be one day where we put the blog out in the book. I think that has to be something.
We've been talking about it for a long time. I mean, it's like, the fact that it covers We're All Gonna Die tour. It covers the Apocalyptic Love making of the album. It covers the Apocalyptic Love tour. And it's going to cover Borrowing Trouble making that. It covers giant chunks of my life. It covers me having a detached retina. It covers, all these different crazy things. Like when I look back on it, it's like some crazy things have occurred. And I think that in someday book form, I've always wanted to release it in book form. And I think that that's kind of the next thing that we're talking about, whether it comes out now or wait until, not now, but comes out, in the next year or so would be the idea. Depends how much writing I do between now and then.
It's a great blog, so
Well,
you got to go and check that out. And we will have you back again, and hopefully we'll be able to get you doing some of the on the road reports for the Noize Faktory as your touring life continues.
What I'm going to do is like leave my keys behind or something, the old leave behind, so I keep coming back. Oh man,
you stole my clock. Well, thank you for doing this. It's great.
Thank you for having me.
All the best of luck with Borrowing Trouble. It's a great record, and there's some really terrific songs on it, so you guys should check this one out. And don't forget to go see him. You're going to do some shows to back this up, I would imagine.
All I have at the moment is a CD release show on June 2nd in Vegas at Vamped, and that was just basically, we wanted to be able to thank everybody for being a part of it and be able to play the music live and raise some money for my friend's memorial fund and just, be
I'm
able to...
sure you'll be doing more.
But I would like to,
Yeah.
honestly.
And then you'll be back out on the road with Slash again, and
Yeah.
then it's back to do a new record.
Yeah, it never ends. It's an endless cycle, which is wonderful. Yeah.
It's great that it's a great avenue for your creativity.
I
you know,
agree.
and I can't wait to hear the next project or the next album that you guys get together as a band, and then what you're going to do next as a solo artist. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that, and we will have you back again very soon.
Thank you, sir.
Here is My True Love off of the Near Life Experience EP that you can get with the Borrowing Trouble CD if you go to pledgemusic.com to put in your order now. We'll be back with you here on the Noize Faktory. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, Pete.
1, 2, 3. I fell in love with a rock and roller. I gave it all to a rock star, and now she my one and only, and I'll be her Pamela DeBar. I said goodbye to Imelda Marcos. I broke it off with a Vita Perone. I told Edith, ciao, baby, 'cause I finally found the one. She Debbie Harry mixed with Billie Holiday. She's all I man could want. She's my true love, true love. She my true love, true love. She my true love. Stefani with the heart of Patti Smith. She's all a man could want, 'cause she's my true love, true love. She's my true love, true love. She's my true love, she's my new drug. Yeah, she's my true love, true love. We'll be together till I'm dead and buried, with my Virgin Mary Magdalena, consummating in the cemetery on Good Friday the 13th. 'Cause she's my true love, true love. She's my true love, true love. She's my true love, she's my new drug. She's my true love, true love, yeah.
This is the Noize Factory. Not just the same 3 songs from the same 5 bands. The best rock, period.